This is the Bar Steward's Enquiry.
Right? You're talking absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
In what way?
You were an underachiever in life. I saved your bacon one time. You were gone.
You handled that well. I couldn't save you. But you did the right thing.
But that's why you don't know anything about racing, John.
I didn't say I do.
Right?
I'm saying that...
What have you contributed to racing? You're one of these take-out merchants. Take out all you can.
Hello, and a warm welcome. It's the Bar Steward's Enquiry. Yes, we're back for Saturday's racing, which includes Taunton, of all places, Haydock and Newbury on the television box. And joining me to continue our great tipping form, fresh from his 20-1 winner last week in an Irish handicap hurdle, John Lang. Good afternoon, John.
Nothing remotely close to that this week, so
He's
don't get excited.
He's peaked. And certainly last but not least, just three of us on a snappy show tonight, but all good judges. And we've got racehorse trainer Nev Ender. Good afternoon, Nev.
Good evening.
This should be a corking show. And if any of our listeners have got a few 100,000 tucked away behind the sofa, send Neville a couple of nice pointers. Yeah, he'll get the job done for you. Well, Nev loves the game.
Grand will be enough. Can find one for 10 grand.
Yeah. See, it's bargain basement when you get Nev. Nev will turn your £10,000 horse, hopefully, into a multiple winning bumper machine like the one he's got at the moment. So, there you go, folks. Get in touch with Nev if you want a horse. On with the show. This is the round where we do a sort of best bets round if you've not listened before. 1, 2 and 3 points. And then we'll come on to the TV race previews at the end of the show. So this is the best bet round. You enjoy, you love this. You'd love this. I'm going to kick us off this week with a confident selection. It's only 1 point, but I still like the horse as a bet. It goes in the 3:35 at Newbury. And the horse in question is the Popeye trained Walking on Air. 4-1 generally available. I've always thought this is the type to make a chaser. He's had numerous problems, but in the context of this race, this is like a drop-in class for him. This is a horse that promised so much and clearly has had the odd issue because obviously his racecourse appearances have been quite sporadic, but they've always thought a lot of him. But the fifth in the Potemps, for example, is on a different level to anything in this. And I think 4-1 is very fair on chasing debut. Obviously, we're relying on the horse us jumping, but Henderson maintains that he's sculled very, very well, and he expects a big run. So I think 4-1 is very fair on the class drop for Walking on Air for the lads who own this horse, Doreen Tabor, of course, and hopefully Stonehands Nico can steer this home for me at 4-1, 1 point win. John.
Good old Doreen, forever one of the lads.
Yeah, she's got some good tacklers, Doreen.
I'm not saying it. To be honest. 12.50 Haydock, Norman Fletcher. I'm no fan of the yard, but I think this will just get the run of the race, and I think, you got the kid taking 7 of the 10. He's gone up, for the winner's penalty. Goes in slop. I think nowadays, if you get to the front, you're hard to pass, especially if you have an easy time. I know he's a shade of odds, but I think he should be about 2s on 2 to 5, something like that. So,
yep, 5 to 6, John.
Yeah, I think he's a better price than he should be. So I'm going to go 1 point win on Norman Fletcher. 1 point win,
a grinder's bet for John, or some will say a racing blogger kind of bet at 5 to 6. That's big blogger special, that, this evening. 6 to 5 on John says it should be much shorter. 2s on, it should be loose on the front end and just slog it out and win, says John, at 5 to 6. Right, Nev, hopefully you've got better than that.
Well, sorry for being shit now,
Go on, Nev.
A short price that I like. I've actually kept it out of my top 3, but I'm going to mention it now because it will probably win easily. But Centaur in the 1 o'clock at Taunton, I think, is an absolute laydown. But I'm not putting that in my 3 because I think it's most people can sort those out. My third best is Paradius, which is going against the hot pot of Nicky Henderson's. This is an introductory hurdle. It's a really quality race for the prize money. It's a 10 grand race, which is not that great, but what it's attracted is 5 horses that all have potential to be above average. And I made a mental note of Paradias when he won at Lingfield 30 days ago. He jumped brilliantly, travelled like a dream, and just quickened up immediately as soon as Tom Cannon asked him. All right, it wasn't a great race, and this is a step up in grade, but he was rated in the mid-90s on the flat, and he's taking on bumper stroke point-to-point winners tomorrow at the likely odds of around 4-1. I think he's worth chancing against the probable odds on favourite Jericho de Reponnet. So he's going to be my third best bet of the weekend. Paradias for Alan King and Tom Cannon in the 12:40 at Newbury.
Good stuff, Nev. Is 4-1 suitable for you?
Well,
He's always like a bit bigger, wouldn't he?
yeah. Yeah, well, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's
Happy with the falls, yeah?
It's probably fair enough. What price is the favourite then? That must be short.
13-8 on.
Pretty short for it.
Yeah, and then you've got Secret Squirrel, 11-4. Strip a Secret Squirrel as a kid, John.
Yeah.
What is a secret squirrel?
Have you seen it? Cartoon. Do you remember it?
It was a squirrel dressed a bit like the Inspector Clouseau character in the Pink Panther cartoons, you know?
Yeah.
The Mac and the hat.
That's right.
But in this instance, of course, it was a squirrel. It did everything secretively, hence the name.
Secret Squirrel. Yeah. Right.
I'm just trying to look at the breeding. By stimulation out of trigger point doesn't offer any reason why they would name it Secret Squirrel.
No, definitely fans of the show, John, I reckon. Do you reckon?
Absolutely. Quite high on our list of potential horse names if I ever got to the stage where I wanted to 15 grand a year.
You should list one day your top 5 horse names that you would call a horse. Yeah. That'd entertain listeners. Right.
Right down there in my next notes column.
That's it, £7 a month on Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe and see John's notebook. Right, John, kick us off for round 2. Your 2-point bet, please.
This is in the 2 o'clock at Haddock. I've concentrated the efforts at Haddock tomorrow, probably in the hope that it's abandoned. 2 o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
Southern Sam. This, again, I'm expecting to get the run of things on the front end. There's plenty of fancy boys riding those who will be sitting off it and playing at being stylish jockeys, making sure they're sat right well. This lad gets on with the hard and tacky business of making all round here. I think this might have won last time, which would have been a rare occurrence for the horse, admittedly, but for the jockey dropping the whip. But I take great encouragement for the fact he ran on like he did without recourse to the stick in fairly shit conditions, which, again, I am noticing when the weather's as it is, jockeys are running out of clouts, just
Yes.
to say the phrase, and then horses are going backwards pretty quickly. So I'm liking the fact that this does plenty for hand riding, and I think that helps me more in the conditions. 2 points win.
2 points win Southern Sam. Happy with the 9-4, John?
I'm gonna have to be.
Yes, so that's 9-4 for John. He likes the angle tomorrow that you don't want to be too far back in the soup when you run out of cracks, which is, of course, sensible logic, and certainly does pay to be on the front end at times at Haydock anyway. So nothing not to like about John's 2-point selection. Neville, coming to you.
I'm going to Taunton for my middle selection on Saturday, and it's in the 3:55 race. It's only a 0 to 115 handicap, and there are a couple that you can easily strike a line through. So as far as I'm concerned, there are only 5 really with a chance. And I'm going to go for Ollie Murphy's representative, Fleurman, who hasn't been seen on a race course for very nearly 200 days. And last time we saw him was at Royal Ascot when finishing last of 19 in that 2 mile 4 furlong staying handicap won by a horse with no name. I'm going to completely ignore that run, as the comment said, jockey said gelding stopped quickly. So clearly there was something amiss, whether it was a breathing problem or he's a bleeder or something. But they've given him plenty of time off to try and sort out the reasoning behind that. Prior to that, he was running against the best stayers on the all-weather circuit from last season. When you think he was second to Rainbow Dreamer, second to Will of the Cotswolds, and actually bolted up off in a handicap of 86 on the flat. He now tries his hand back over hurdles off a rating of 110, and he goes on soft ground, which it will be. He doesn't want it desperately soft, but it's on this moment in time the ground is described as good to soft, so I don't believe Taunton ever gets that heavy anyway. If they've got him right, and I have noticed that they've put the tongue tie and cheek pieces combination for the first time, and his form did improve on the flat foot cheek pieces, and last time we saw him over hurdles he wasn't wearing them. So there's every reason to believe that off 110 this 95 rated flat horse could be extremely well handicapped. And I do like Dylan Johnston, who rides. He was based up north last season. He's now, I think he must be with Ollie Murphy, otherwise he couldn't draw an allowance. So that's my selection. Fleurman, it should be a decent price as well. Last race at Taunton.
Yeah, 8-1, Nev.
That's a very good price.
Yeah, 8-1 indeed. If Fleurman certainly recapped his best flat form and jumps nicely, then you'd like to think he goes close. Good case by Nev. Nev, have you trained many bleeders like before? Or
Yeah, no. Yeah.
I mean,
no.
what's the best way to sort of deal with that? I mean, obviously there's medication, isn't there? But which you obviously.
Well, medication. All you can do is you can work them on Lasix, which is legal to work them on, but you can't obviously run on Lasix, which I think is wrong. I think they should be allowed to run on Lasix. Really, just the bleeders are usually trained out the field, and you keep them away from dust allergies and things like that. I once took 3 horses to Worcester, and the first one bled like his throat had been cut. I was absolutely covered in blood when he was pulled up after about 5 jumps. The next one was bleeding in his box before he even ran. So we just went through a terrible stage where everything was bleeding, but it's just part and parcel. Fortunately, touch wood, we haven't had too many of late, but part of the game, you wouldn't run a bleeder on heavy ground because it put too much pressure on them, etc., etc. But fortunately, on the flat, it's not quite as many bleeders on the flat as over the jump.
Obviously,
it
like
does happen.
yeah, National, it's a tough game, isn't it?
Too much pressure, lots of pressure. We used to use somebody's gallops, and they were so stiff that even if you work them, they'd bleed. So you've got to be a bit careful. You know, a non-bleed would bleed.
Yeah.
Such was the stiffness of the gallop.
Yeah. So you're in favour of like making sort of like Lasix?
I think so.
legal,
Yeah. You want to get the best out of the horse, and you're not. I suppose you're not really. You're getting the horse to run to the best of his ability. You're not actually giving him anything that will improve his performance, make him a better horse, steroids or anything that can physically improve him. All you're doing is getting him to run to the best of his ability with Lasix. So I think so, but you can train them on it.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as it's out the system by race day.
How long does it take to get out of the system?
Not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe 24 hours, I think.
Yeah.
It's not long.
Right. No, interesting.
And you know, some of these, and I'm not saying it does happen, but I do know it has happened, that in point to points, there is no testing. So
hey, the Irish love a juiced up one, don't
you're
they?
not going to get horse tested at most point to points. So the chances are, if you had a horse that bled, you could maybe give it a syringe, I suppose.
Ooh.
I haven't done it, but
yeah, no skullduggery in point to points, is there, John?
Oh, no, that's
What was the one recently? Lucinda Russell sent a horse back to Ireland, didn't she? They paid.
I mean, that was on steroids. Once it had been found to have some steroids in its system.
These Irish pointers. Move on to myself. Good selection from Nev to finish the round. My 2-point bet is in the 125 at Haydock, and it's a Betfair SP selection, which will be on collector's item, which is a horse that's been backed at the moment. It's a little bit skinny, but I fancy it to bounce out in price because everyone knows this horse is lazier than me. And 3.5 miles going to play in heavy is going to play to its strengths. And I think this is where he'll come good tomorrow. This is his derby, if you like. And I think, don't worry if you miss the price. You'll probably get bigger in running, when he's shoved along a little bit. I am fearful of John's sort of tactics regarding horses that can be a bit lazy and off the pace. They can sort of struggle to get into it, the lack of cracks. But I think this lad's all right. He's well enough handicapped, and that's where I'm going for my 2 points win at Betfair SP on collector's item. A good, lazy old Bert. Now the best round. This is your patents time. This is hopefully your big money round, as they say. 3-point selections. So I'm coming to you, Nev, first of all, for your 3-pointer.
Well, as I said earlier on, Centauro was going to be my 3-pointer, but I did look through the betting and saw that, I can't remember what you call her now, the Stoke lady. She keeps getting a different...
That's it. That's what we call her.
Port Vale. Yeah, Denise. Port Vale, Denise.
She had so many names. I can't, what was... There has been some rude names,
There's been
hasn't
some terrible ones. There's been some...
Anyway,
Stoke Slut.
I noticed that 45, but you can't get any bet on with them anyway. So
No.
Let's move on to the best bet. Challow hurdle at Newbury, Grade 1, absolutely top-notch novice hurdle. And you can make a case for most of them, really, or you can argue a case for them. But in all honesty, nothing, in my opinion, matches the form of Captain Teague, what he's shown so far. He was as good a bumper horse, I think, as Paul Nicholls has ever had last season. Finished third in the champion bumper to a Dream to Share. He made tremendous hurdling reappearance, or his first start over hurdles, when winning Grade 2 at Chepstow at the start of the jump season, beat Resplendent Grey by nearly 10 lengths on the bridle. And I think most people, including myself, was surprised that Minella Missile was able to beat him at Cheltenham in the Trusted Trader Novices hurdle, another Grade 2 last time. He had the Big Doyen, who's a good yardstick, back in third. He conceded a couple of pounds to him, and I believe that he ran a few pounds below his best. He started 4 to 6 that day. This is a race that Nicholls seems to target with his best novices year in and year out, and he's already received a rating of 140, which probably underestimates his true ability. I think he's going to take the world of beating. Will Mount is unbeaten in all starts, a point-to-point bumper and a hurdle, as is Johnny Who. It's a cracking renewal. I think Look Away, had this race been over slightly shorter than 2.5 miles, would have had a leading chance. If he settles, he should be good for a place. But for me, Captain Teague, definitely we haven't seen the best of him. It's sure to be more to come. They'll go on the ground, and I think whatever beats him, if anything is good enough, will win the race. But Captain Teague is my nap over the weekend.
Super. Are you happy with Burlington Bertie? 100 to 30? Yeah.
I think it's probably the favourite. Well, I don't know, maybe Will Mount might be favourite, but he will be far off.
Will Mount's favourite at 9 to 4. Obviously, the reputation certainly is playing a part in that price rather than the actual probably bare form, like you say. So 100 to 30 for Nev. Nice nap. And I hope to continue that with similar confidence in my 3-point selection, which goes in the 225 at Newbury, and it's Kerry Lee's Atlanta Brave. The 6 to 1's dried up. There is 11 to 2 in a place, but I will take the 5 to 1 with Coral, Unibet and Ladbrokes. I think this has outstanding claims in a chase, really, that called the Mandarin. I remember fondly of the past. John, if I remember right, Mandarin, this was a sort of a Gold Cup, sort of Grand National trial, wasn't it?
Yeah, back in the dim and distant, I think there's probably one or two illustrious winners if you trail back far enough. I seem to remember that thing the Queen Mother's winning this. What was it called? Game Spirit or something like that.
That rings a bell.
That's
Definitely, Game Spirit. Yeah, because they've named a race after Game Spirit, haven't they?
Yeah, another race that's going down the Swanee.
It is. Yeah.
I sort of seem to remember horses like that. Like horses like Venture to Cognac, when that was an up and comer and things like that. I think that was.
Yeah. And now it's just a lowly 0 to 135 handicap.
Grizzly, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's a bit sad to see, but obviously things change. Anyway, going back to Atlanta Brave, Kerry Lee trained. It ran into one of Venetia's at Exeter, was basically a bit too well handicapped. This horse actually made a sort of terrible error mid-race, and that basically could have been the difference between winning and losing. I think this is a future Welsh national horse. I think this is going to be a really, really good chaser. You'll not see this for long off a mark of 121. I think you're going to be seeing this in the 140s eventually. But he's only 5. He's got plenty of time in front of him. And I think this is a brilliant bit of placing. The track will suit him. I think they'll ride him pretty prominent and nothing not to like. Very, very confident at the price. I think he should be a lot shorter. And Atlanta Brave, I shall be getting the old breadies out for this one at around the 5-1 mark. So John finishes off for the best bets.
I almost can't. I'm a bit too shaken at somebody saying a future Welsh national horse. I wonder how upset I'd be if somebody told me.
It was gruesome viewing, weren't it?
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Imagine having to go and watch your horse run round there. Jesus.
I know.
Do you remember Channel 4 used to put them late night movies on with Red Triangle in corner?
Warning.
Yeah, potentially disturbing. Should have had one of them up in the corner.
Yeah.
I think it disturbed me, to be honest.
Well, I mean, let's hope I'd chasing Evie as well then.
That's worse, isn't it? Far and a bit round that gas pit. My godfathers. and any worse than good ground, and it's guts out, isn't it?
Everything's on display in that.
Roll on Cheltenham. Get the whole bloody lot out there.
Hashtag the road to Doncaster.
Oh, fucking stinks this game.
The 3-pointer, John, please.
Yes, on a much more optimistic note, we're off back to Haydock on the heavy.
Ooh.
And we're in the extremes of the 125. I'm actually taking the selection.
Yeah.
With Fortescue, who is a horse I actually tipped in last year's Welsh National, and he put up an appalling effort in all fairness. He's been rebuilt slowly after that, I think. To be honest with you, I was quite surprised how well he ran in the English National on ground that was maybe getting on the quicker side for him. And the English National is almost more of a speed test than people realise, and he was never able to get in a competitive position. But I still thought he ran pretty well, really. And it's the comeback run that really caught my eye. 6 lengths behind the subsequent winner of the Welsh Nash, who went pretty close to lapping some of the runners, I would have suggested, Wednesday. I mean, which was his superiority. So I think the 6 lengths equate to that one would indicate that Fortescue is on the way back. And he's on a better mark than he was when he was fancied for that Welsh National. I think Haydock, in these conditions, ought to suit down to the ground. And he's the 3-point now.
Yeah, this horse was also 4th in the Beecher off 145, weren't he? Ashtown, Labjes, Kiel. Yeah, he's a bit of an enigma. He's quite a tricky type.
As is the trainer, really.
Right. So the 125 Haydock, John is challenging my selection in the 2-point round, but the 3-point, that's what puts food on the table, the 3-point round. And John goes with Fortescue. 9-2, John, happy enough?
Ecstatic.
Yeah, you can hear that in John's voice there. Absolutely. He's made up with this. Right.
It sounds like I got myself breaking out into a Morris dance or something.
Another vision there. onto the that was the end of the best bets round. Onto the television previews. Now this is where we look at the race a little bit more in depth. Somehow, I have no idea how they've managed it from tomorrow's fair, but ITV have managed to concoct 8 races to watch or worthy of watching.
That's off to Ed Chamberlain, isn't it? If he picks them.
Well, it is that's off to Ed Chamberlain because he's not working tomorrow.
It's straight up to Ed Chamberlain then, isn't it?
Yeah. It's Poseidon. Ollie Bell Hoyles, I think, on tomorrow.
Feeds.
Leona's on tomorrow with that Natalie Green, is it?
Oh, she must be after Taunton, is she?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. I've not asked her. She's back on. So hopefully it'll be a good show on the old ITV. Not too nauseating, I hope. Right. Well, it's like our podcast. It's not totally shit. I mean,
Well,
it's...
there'll be a tribute to Froden tomorrow, won't there? Because he's retired.
Oh yeah, you're going to get probably an half an hour slot on that. I'd have thought. The great Frodo and Brian. Yeah, they'll probably go to ditch eat, won't they, and see a cuddle in it,
Yeah.
And then see a cuddle in the horse.
All right.
Howie, right.
Yeah.
Right, Haddock. So me and John have expressed our opinion. So come to you, Nev, on the 125, the 3.5 mile stayers event. Any view here?
I respect what you both said about Fortescue and John Joe's horse, collector's item. So I might as well stick a different one in. But I thought East Street looked like he should have won a couple of weeks ago at, was it Newcastle or Doncaster? It was Newcastle, when he stayed on strongly, and his jumping was pretty awful, and that's what cost him the race, really. That was a 0 to 120. This is a 0 to 140 or a 0 to 138, the top weight being that. It's obviously a step up in class, and I think the step up in trip will suit him. It's just whether you can trust his jumping round Haydock, which used to have some of the toughest fences in the country. They're all portable these days, so they probably don't take quite as much jumping. I suppose if we've got 3 against the field, we've got a good chance. But I'm going to go. I think East Street, for me, was the most likely winner, but I don't trust his jumping 100%.
If you do subscribe to John's notes, £7 a month, by the way. John's notes always make me laugh because I get them into my notes as well. He said it on the 14th of December, East Street is a right lazy cunt. Going to be hard to get a win out of him unless his mark drops. Legendary notes from John. Yeah.
What you want to win it over 3.5 miles, you want a lazy
That's
horse.
it. It's true. That was my case also for collecting.
Are you not worried about Brian Hughes getting enough belts into him now?
Yeah, Brian's a bit like Charlie.
He's not really a whip happy jockey, is he, Brian Hughes?
No, that's what worries me. I think you
need as whip happy gets in these conditions.
I think East Street needs David Bass to kick the living daylights out of it.
I think it needs Babe Ruth, complete with bat.
East Street, ridden by B. Ruth, claiming 7. 7 extra hits.
Yeah. 56 pounds overweight.
ITV, that's the only race I think they're covering tomorrow at Haydock. They've said that's enough. That'll put everybody on the gin and pit and let it dog in, John, for 3.5 mile there. So yeah, so we'll go to Taunton before we cover Newbury's 5 races. And they've found a novice hurdle there to cover, quite a valuable one, 25,000 listed mares hurdle, where Queen's Gamble is odds on 4 to 5 for Harry Durham and Jonathan Burke. Neville, did you have a view on this mares hurdle? I know it's not really your forte, mares hurdles.
Yeah, I mean, it does look a match on paper. Casa Nomento absolutely hosed it last time a month ago. It was only a low-grade novice hurdle, and it was 1 to 2, so she was fully entitled to win. Prior to that, she'd won at 1 to 2 again at Market Race, and so she hasn't beaten a great deal, but the handicapper assesses her at 126. Queen's Gamble, having won both her starts this season, has been given an official mark of 120. So when I was looking at this race, I thought, well, if the odds compilers will surely put Casamento slightly favourite, if not by a point. But that doesn't seem to be the case, and I think everybody knows that Nomento is probably not worthy of 126, and Queen's Gamble potentially. I think I read when she was trained by Oliver Sherwood last season, it was just about one of the best mares he's trained, and Harry Durham now trains her, and Oliver Sherwood, of course, is Harry Durham's assistant. I think Queen's Gamble probably will turn out to be better than a listed mare. She'll probably win graded races. I think I'd want to be with her in a race that, good luck to Taunton, they've got good prize money in it. They've got they've got a very classy mare there with Queen's Gamble. I think she'll win it.
I think it's a solid 4 to 5 shot. I think it'll go shorter than that. Like you said, the stable change from Sherwood to Durham's quite potent. And secondly, the third horse, Baloo of Popeyes, came out and won at Doncaster today. So it's just giving the form already a solid look to it. So I'm all over Queen's Gamble. John?
I thought Queen's Gamble would probably win it. And I have Barbie Girl down as a horse to keep a very close eye on in the future.
In terms of...
despite being switched to Katie Price, that's not Jordan in disguise.
No.
This horse is being readied for handicaps and could be of interest a little bit down the line.
Yeah, one to watch for the future there. They
It's
might.
not
They
Jordan,
might.
is it?
No.
Yeah.
I know. Obviously, Katie Price, I believe, trains. I think she's a Welsh trainer. In fact, she is. Yes, she trains in Wales.
Would she rival what's her face, Rebecca Curtis?
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Never. Have you seen Katie Price?
Yeah, I've met her she was at the sales once, and she's a very successful point-to-point trainer.
Is she in the Curtis category now on the looks front?
I'd probably just favour Rebecca Curtis.
Nev's into Rebecca Curtis, yeah, like AP McCoy. Right, 2:45. This is the 100% profits back to racing TV. Well, they should do how many split screens they have. Handicap hurdle, 13,650 guaranteed, which isn't a lot for an 0 to 130. Nev's just like praising Taunton there. I'm saying they could chuck a bit more into that.
Well, sponsor can't because they put all the profits back into racing, don't they? Racing's already had it.
You look at Newcastle.
I know what you're saying. Well, Newcastle's Arc, though, Nev, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've put one in at Newcastle next week. Not to 46 to 62, I think it is.
Yeah.
For the total prize fund, 5,700. The past 4 years, I look back at the past 4 years for that particular race, and it was about £1,500 more last year, £2,000 a year before, and it was more going back the past 4 years. It's been more. So God knows what's happening there. It's a disgrace. I said, well, the only wants to run. I would not enter any of my horses that I owned at Newcastle when the prize money is so shit. It's disgusting.
It's the only thing that's coming down, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, yeah. In life, everything's going up, but prize money's going down. As owners need to take a stance, really. We'll cover this on a sermon, but
Straight, everybody out.
It's like carry on at your convenience.
Got an email last couple of weeks ago, just before Christmas, and it from the BHA, and it said that everything on racing administration, everything is going up by 6%. That's entries, registration, everything you can think of that you pay is going up by 6%. That's more than inflation.
In fact, pensions won't pay themselves.
Now they're putting the prize, taking money off. The prize money is going down. If we were fortunate enough to win that race next week at Newcastle, after the deductions for the trainer, the jockey, the stable, pool money, etc., the travelling and everything, the owner will come down with £1,500. That's if you win the race, which I think is absolutely disgraceful at this.
It is.
We're in 2024 when this horse next runs, and we're running for £1,500 after all deductions.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So you're going on telly after the race and playing Elnev.
Well,
telling it's going to the mattresses afterwards.
These races should be boycotted.
They should.
Nobody should put entry, and then they'll soon do something about it.
Indeed. Right.
Placards and flying pickets and fighting with coppers.
All I've got is an image of Bernard Breslaw in Carry On at Your Convenience, stood there like Atlas. Right, all out, What a show that was.
It needs to be all out. I'd love a strike in racing.
Oh,
between now and Cheltenham, actually, that would do.
Right, the winner of this thing. Could it be a quick double for Harry Durham? He's got the favourite in game winner, 2 to 1.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's about my... That's about my view, to be honest. First time pieces go on. It's not a strong affair, this. Very weak. It's a very weak race.
It's one of the rare affairs where you can take the pieces going on as a positive, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Because the rest of them have various equipment. Well, King of the Lake, they haven't cottoned on yet that needs equipment. So,
I agree. I totally agree. I don't think any of these are where I'd want to put my money taking on the favourite, really. Nev?
Well, he's back hurdling his game winner after 2 unsuccessful attempts over fences. The price is not going to be outstanding by any means, and I think he's probably priced up on who trains him. All the bookmakers seem to be scared stiff of Harry Derham at the moment. But
Yeah.
it's not a race that would be high on my list.
No, I agree. We move on. Newbury, 5 races to crack on. The 115 Martyr Tour is favourite for the Wicked Witch of the West at 2-1, and Charlie Dutch zipping up his fly. And
what's the earth are you implying, sir?
I don't know, to be honest. It's a crazy shit. Martyr Tour is 2-1. Guy won 2 on the spin and looked to reform.
Well, from having a piss before they go out, like, to be fair.
That's what I was referring to, right?
Yeah.
So Guy won 2 on the spin did it in May and then backed it up in a week chase at Fontwell, and it's gone back to type since. That's second in. That tells you how strong this race is, which really should be, sorry to sound boring, 2-1 about Martyr Tour might not all be that bad. Nev?
I had a good look at this race because, like you, I felt there could be some value in some of the bigger priced ones, and I thought Jeremy Scott's horse, the Russian Doyen, who's been around a good while now, and he hasn't turned out to be anything like I think we all thought he was going to be when he was with the Tizzards in his heyday. But if you look at his last run, or his only run this season, he finished 4th, beaten 14 1/4 lengths by Elixir de Nuts, who ran really well last week in a much stronger race than this. Master Chewy finished 2nd. Excitations finished 3rd, and Excitations were going into the race on the back of a win at Sandown. The horse that finished further back was Bollinger and Krug, and he was on a 4-timer when he got beat, finished behind Russian Doyen. I know he's not one to trust, but I think his form's pretty good, and I think soft ground will really suit him. So I thought he might be worth chancing. Rich Hill probably won't run because he ran on Friday when finishing was he last at Doncaster, so we're down to 5 runners, and I thought the Russian Doyen was worth risking. Guy's not one of my favourite horses. I think he's better around the gaff tracks, Ludlow and places like that. I don't think his jumping's good enough really, although he is pretty bold at some of his fences, but usually seems to nudge 1 or 2 along the way. So the Russian Doyen, he might be a bit chancy, and he seldom wins many races, but I thought his form from last time looked pretty good.
Yeah, Master Chewy, of course, has won at Kempton this week, bolstering the form further. So Nev points out the Russian Doyen might still have it in him at the age of 10. Coming back after a long absence last time, might strip fitter for the run. John?
I'm going to stick with Martyr Tour and balding Charlie Dutch with his flags.
He's got very thin on top, hasn't he, old Charlie? You'd shave it off, wouldn't you?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, you're better off looking like Phil Mitchell than Phil Mitchell's pubes.
Hopefully Charlie Dutch will get the job done there.
Michael Van Gerwen of the way.
What does he gurn?
Smashing.
Right, 150 Newbury's 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. Coral Racing Club, join for free. Less said about them, the better. 2-1 Favies Get a Tonic for the Skeltons.
You'd join for free, like, wouldn't you? I mean, if there was a fee, you'd just fuck them straight off. Yeah,
you're right there. Right, so Get a Tonic. I thought Dan Skelton, who doesn't miss a Buffy these days, he was quite nauseated after the race when this won. She went off about 48 on Betfair, and he gave it the old, well, I'd have had a fav. It's like, what are you on about? Anyway, she drifted all day. I think they put her in quite short. I think she was put in about 7-1 and drifted out to about 48.
When a trainer comes out with that, they should say, right, show us your bet. Shouldn't they?
Exactly.
I should have had a fab, and she's 28-1.
True.
He should have had the fucking house on, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he was quite. And to be fair, she did look in savage order, but I thought at 2-1 she would probably be take honourable. And I'm just wondering if the right one in this might be Silent Revolution after it's had its win tweaked for the second time. Brian Frost in the saddle. I felt that this one would probably have more to offer and is becoming well handicapped if able to come back to its sort of novice hurdle form. You know, it's a long time between drinks, but if it does, that would look value at around the 8-1 mark, and ITV can have a love fest for Bryony after the race. Perfect. John?
There's lots of options for the love fest, isn't there, in this race? We've got Grady Betty's narcissistic replacement with a runner as well, that we're expected to cheer for every time they just turn up as a racecourse.
Yeah, they might turn up tomorrow. You don't know.
And every chance. The old queen that loved Newbury for a Saturday afternoon, didn't she? And you never know if these two aren't steeping the king's fingers for giving them a bit less of a sausage look. Might be venturing forth to Newbury. I thought this was a hard race, to be honest. A hunch bet I'd possibly rock along with Irish Hill for the blinkers, but I'm not busting a gut to have a bet, in all fairness.
No, makes sense there, John. Nev?
Last time I was on, I think you were insinuating that Irish Hill might be run to get a lower handicap rating and then pop up one day. I think he's well handicapped. He doesn't look very trustworthy, but he's a lot better in at the weights with Get a Tonic than when they last met. I think he's something like 9 or 10 pounds better in. The blinkers ought to help. I think I actually think there's a good handicap in Irish Hill, but I don't think he's shown enough to warrant being second or third favourite. Steel and March did nothing but improve last season. The handicap has taken no chances off 132. Get a Tonic for me has gone up too much in the weights to be a 2-1 chance. So I've got no real opinion really, but if I had to have one, it would be Irish Hill. But I don't really think 4-1 is good enough to warrant the being that.
No, I agree with you. He was fat at Kempton, Irish Hill, and even Megs referred to that. And in the parade ring before the last race, she actually mentioned that I shouldn't be saying this, but I thought Irish Hill was fat at Kempton. Shouldn't be saying that about me. My dad, she says, not getting one ready. But so I think it was common knowledge.
I think she should be saying that about her dad.
Absolutely, John. But anyway, so
and then she could go home that night and say, "You give me a right showing up there, not having that ready. What's the matter with you?" That's telling him.
Yeah, I agree with Nev there that like it don't make appeal at the prices, even though Nev's making a case for it being well handicapped. But again, it's a tricky race for punters. Not something I think all three of us can agree on that. 225, the Mandarin. Obviously, I'll sit this out because I've discussed this, and I'm very, very confident in Atlanta Brave. I think it'll win. Yeah, it should be much shorter. But I'd like to hear your two thoughts. Nev, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Atlanta Brave is the horse in the race that will probably improve more so than anything, because he's only had 6 starts in his whole career and he's proving extremely progressive. I thought his run at Exeter was good. The handicapper has left him alone off 1-2-1, and all Kerry Lee's horses, like a father when he was training, they all seem to love this testing conditions and offer a relatively lightweight of 11 stone. I think he has a reasonably good chance. Surrey Quest, since leaving Nicky Henderson's, has gone on to win at wherever it was 61 days ago, now trained by Toby Laws, who does very well with his small team. And it's not the strongest of Mandarins by any means. But I think our Romeuli, Atlanta Brave, there's tons of scope. And I think 1-2-1 is a fair.
I mean, John, I can't forget back in January of this year when Atlanta Brave won the novice hurdle at Chepstow, beating Ed Keeper and Inch House. Ed Keeper is now rated 133, and the third horse, Inch House, is rated 137. So obviously, that's very, very strong form in the context of this, as long as he gets over the obstacles.
I think Of all these, I mean, Atlanta Brave is the potential horse, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, in these situations as well, dealing with horses, they get sick of it so quickly over the sticks and bad conditions and that. I think anything where you can cling on to where the graph's slightly going up over, I think you need to be taking an interest really. So it's kind of a foghorn bet without any of us tipping it, really. Isn't it?
It is. I was hoping someone might match me on that one, but yeah, because I know you put in your notes can win off this mark if he gets a bit slicker over the fences. 26th of November, that was your note. Chris Gartner also likes this one as well. So yeah, nothing not to like there. We move on to the 3 o'clock, which is the big race of the day, of course, the Grade 1 Challow. Paul Nicholls obviously likes to win this race. Nev has rightfully pointed out that Captain Teague comes into this, of all the hype horses in the race, with the best form in the race. The third in the champion bumper, good second last time in the Hyde at Cheltenham behind Manila Missile with a big Doyen in third. That's the strongest form in the race, and a race that Nicholls likes to win, John.
It's hard to argue with any of that, in all fairness. I think the two main market rivals are beatable, really, despite unbeaten records.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think 9-4 is quite appalling for Wilmount when you consider what they've all done so far. It's reputation. It was initially put in at 5-4 Wilmount. Obviously, the punters aren't having that. And Johnny Who won at Carlisle, beat a horse of John McConnell's. That's a decent horse, probably rated about the 125 mark. But I agree with Nev. I think Captain Teague is the one to be with at 100-30.
Yeah, I mean, Popeye's having his usual glut of Christmas winners, isn't he? But I mean, nobody finds a lap of honour for a horse like Popeye. I mean, you can't say he's in smoking form, can you? It's just he's found a lot of laps of honour for him, really.
Yeah.
So.
Right, so pretty much in agreement with Nev. Nev's 3-pointer, so that's nice. I think our 3-point round's quite strong. Yeah, looking forward to cheering them on, and hopefully we'll do well for you on the Saturday. Right, to finish the show, it's the 3:35, and this is my selection walking on air. I'll start off by just saying that Passing Well is a lovely big chasing type of Jamie Snowden's. The form is quite strong. It beat Heaver Rose, which won the Mayor's final at Hereford. So the form is strong, but Passing Well...
Was anything he did over hurdles a bonus, Lee?
I ain't got that cliche in, have I? You've got it in for me. But yeah, only thing I want to say about him is he looked a bit of a cowbag at Lingfield all the way around. It was off the bridle. He was not cooperating with Gavin Sheehan. I thought in the end he held them off comfortably, like as if he was being lazy. But I also think that Heaver Rose, they weren't that bothered about winning that race, John, because they didn't want to go up in the weights for the final.
I think there's a lot of twat potential in Passing Well, like.
There is.
I think he could say enough's enough at any point, I think.
What was your idea of the winner of the race, John?
Probably one of a better selection walking on air, really, but I think the price is just about right, and I'm never thrilled tipping a Nicky Henderson horse up, because usually I want to see him get stuffed anyway, so...
He'll definitely be on the gin at that point. Right, Nev, your thoughts on this one?
I can understand why walking on air is going to be fancied, but he hasn't jumped a fence yet in public, so you are guessing as to whether he takes to it or not. And 138, it's not an absolute gimme. It's handicapped on his hurdles form. I can see why he's going to be one of the favourites. Golden Sun, who's got an even bigger weight and higher rating, performed awfully last time, but slightly raced Nicholls' horse. I think there are very few better trainers at placing their winning hurdlers in handicap chases than Paul Nicholls. So you have to respect him. But if I had to have a bet, and I'm not having a bet in the race, I don't think I'm going to have a bet in the race unless the price was right. I thought Henry's Friend, who got beat around 10 lengths at Doncaster last time out, off 128. He runs off a £2 lower mark. That was his first run after wind surgery and a 245-day break. They thought enough of him to run him in a graded handicap prior to his break, and he looked to be a progressive horse. He might be worth backing at around 5 or 6 to 1. But I'm not no strong opinion, but if I had to select something, I'd go for Henry's Friend.
I'm very surprised, Nev, you didn't go for Rebecca Curtis and Charlie Dutch. On Lubiet for us. Good old Rebecca Curtis. Get to see her live on ITV screens.
Charlie Dutch gets around a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He had a ride for Paul Nicholls today, Charlie Dutch.
Did he? Nev, just to finish, what do you make of Charlie Dutch? I don't particularly rate him. Venetia obviously does.
He's more of a
Rebecca
horseman,
does.
isn't he?
He's a horseman, but he's deceiving off the bridle.
He's more of a horseman. He actually rode one of mine at Southwell one day. The horse was just too free, and he came off it. He's a really nice lad, very well spoken. Yeah. Can't believe that he actually spent time away from the game.
Well, yeah,
as we all well know.
Did he spend time inside?
He's done a bit of
yeah.
Really nice, well-spoken lad. If I was looking for a chasing jockey, and on something that perhaps wasn't the best jumper, I think I'd want to be. I like him. I think he's a very, very talented rider, and he didn't have to do well for Venetia Williams, didn't he?
Yeah, he gets them out and away and jumping, which is kind of half the battle, and I think that's where he shines. I don't particularly think he shines in a finish or strength in that way, but look.
He rides very long, doesn't he? He doesn't ride like he isn't most stylish of jockeys, and I'm sure he'd be the first to admit that himself. But it's not all about style, is it? And style doesn't always win races. So I like him. I think he's an extremely good horseman.
Good stuff. And Venetia obviously likes him as well. And that's what counts. Zip your fly up, Charlie. Right. We've ended today's show. God knows how it's ended like that. But it has. And we hope you enjoyed it. We're back on Sunday, of course. Myself, John, with Chris, discussing the week's events, the races taking place, things in racing, what's shit and bad and good also. And also, it's the Bar Steward of the Year Awards. So tune in on Sunday for that. Hope you've enjoyed it like we have. Bye for now.